tribal or regional.
I have said that.
All right, thank you for staying with us. It's Daybreak on Trust Television, reaching you from the nation's capital. Time for us to take a look at the dailies on Daybreak, and we begin with Daily Trust newspaper this morning. The lead story, it says, Naira redesign. Dollar scarcity hits BDCs, sells at 818 Naira to a dollar. The writer says Naira depreciated by 53 Naira in 5 days at parallel market. Nigerians rush to dispose of local currency. It's failing as a store of value, experts are saying. Now, you'd also find other stories above the lead story. FG says U.S. terror alert, irresponsible as security beefed up at National Assembly. Buhari to police, be neutral during 2023 polls. You'd find that on page 32. I sold my property to give 3,000 students foreign scholarships. Kwankwaso on page 32. You'd also find a pictorial there showing you supporters of the newly elected president, Luis Lula da Silva, celebrate his victory in Paulista Avenue. That's there in Brazil. Congratulations to Brazilians. Now, the actual story, it's captioned rather. It says, from prison to presidency, Brazil's Lula rises from ashes. You would find that on page 5. At the footnote, FG Lagos investment in Lekki port to generate 287 trillion naira on page 22. Uganda, Nigeria at high risk of Ebola, NCDC. Census, NPC begins recruitment as FG urged to patronize local ICT firms to boost economy. That's on page 34. These are the stories on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. Not forgetting to mention that we still have 11 schoolgirls of FGC Birnin Yawuri. It's been 502 days. They are still in captivity. One student of Bethel Baptist High School, Kujama, 475 days still in captivity.
All right, now let's take a look at the Nation newspaper. It has a lead story that says, coming from Tinubu, Adebanjo under fire over Southwestern. That the first writer says he's on his own, says YCE General Secretary. Fashoranti remains a Afenifere leader. Beneath that, how Lekki Port will boost economy by Sanwo-Olu. We also have federal government dismisses US-UK terror alert on Abuja. Still on the Nation, no decision yet on who to vote as president, says Wiki. Above the masthead, ensure credible polls, Buhari tells police. Reps panel accuses oil firms of tax evasion. We also have gunmen kidnap 4 travelers in Ekiti. Freed ex-DVC says, I was shot in the head. These are the major stories on the Nation newspaper for today.
All right, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. On the Punch, the lead story, still talking about terror alert. FG reassures Nigerians, pushes back against US and UK. You also have the writer saying that foreign minister to warn ambassadors against alarming advisories. Terror alert, irresponsible, go about normal business, security chiefs. Transcorp Hotel sets new security protocol. FCT police meet hotel operators. You'd also find above the masthead, FG exceeds loan target by 1.12 trillion naira, borrows 5.3 trillion naira. Naira devaluation will worsen Nigeria's food energy crisis, according to the World Bank. IOCs polluting Nigeria must face sanctions, says the federal government. Sanwo-Olu, Lagos Anglican Diocese mourn Bishop Olumakaye. And then you have the pictorial there showing you the crisis, well, the transport crisis yesterday in Lagos, where commuters were stranded as Lagos commercial drivers protest extortion. You would see that people are scrambling for the few commercial buses that were operating, leading to squabbles at bus stations. You would also find marketers protest 185 naira per litre fuel, threatened strike. Lagos-Ibadan highway kidnappers killed captives over ransom, collected 3.2 million naira from my father, says a lady. 2023 elections, don't be partisan. Buhari counsels police. These are the stories on the front page of the Punch newspaper.
Over now to This Day newspaper. It has a lead story that says, NSA, Nigeria not under any heightened sense of insecurity. He goes further to say, I want to dispel any illusion about any heightened sense of insecurity. It is false, it is irresponsible for anybody to give that signal. Still on This Day newspaper, Buhari, please must remain apolitical, ensure peaceful 2023 polls. We also have at the top here, federal government tightens measures against Ebola outbreak. And above the masthead, this is coming from Kwankwaso, I sold my properties to sponsor 3,000 students, local and overseas. And just above that, China Harbor completes construction of $1.5 billion Lekki deep sea port. Sanwo-Olu vows to provide transport infrastructure. These are the stories on the This Day newspaper.
All right, so let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper this morning. The lead story there says, dollar scarcity worsens as banks ration withdrawals, BDCs stretched. You'd also would find the writers that says, we can't give what we don't have, banks tell customers. High cash holders mop up black market, push Naira to highway. BDC dealers at Eco Hotel trade over 2 billion Naira on Friday. Finance Ministry boils over Cold War between CBN Minister. UBA, alternative fiscal monetary coordinating structure required. CBN Act needs to specify working relationship between two offices. You'd find also above the lead story, FG dismisses U.S. insecurity alert in Abuja, says alarm, needless hype. Anglican Archbishop of Lagos Province, Olumakaye, dies at 53. Akintoye accuses Tinubu of planning to destroy Yoruba Self-Determination Group. Whereabouts of Kano APC senatorial candidate unknown, EFCC tells court. You'd also find, as Buhari jets out, again, Huriwa stresses need for a healthy leader in 2023. Save Nigeria from global scandal. Probe oil theft. Ex-diplomats tell Buhari. At the footnote, Kogi government is best stead to answer insecurity question, says Akpoti Oduaga. And these are the stories on the front page of the Guardian newspaper.
All right, let's take a look at the Tribune newspaper. It has a lead story that says, U.S. security alert, needless, no cause for alarm, NSA. And then it goes further to say, I would like to assure all citizens of this country that any exaggerated sense of insecurity, any hype about a disintegration of our security forces, intelligence agencies is unfounded. Beneath that, Buhari leaves for medical checkup in the UK. 1 year after Ikoyi building collapse, government yet to demolish 2 other towers. We also have the story here. Miitiala lists conditions for peace in troubled communities. Demands gazetting of 415 grazing reserves. Also on the Tribune, Atiku Group false endorsement of Tinubu in Akure. We also have the story here. Ebola, NCDC warns Nigerians against non-critical travel to Uganda. And above the masthead, construction of 1.5 billion Lekki port completed. Lekki Freeport Terminal takes over. Also, Gunmen abduct 4 Ibadan-bound travelers in Ekiti. Kidnappers bullet left skin-deep wound in my head, says Agbaje, ex-UI Deputy Vice Chancellor. These are the stories on the Tribune for today.
All right, so let's take a look at the Leadership newspaper this morning. The lead story there says PMB warns police. Will of Nigerians must prevail in 2023. Says officers must not aid digging. We have not released LP manifesto yet, says POB. You'd also find other stories above the lead story. Campaign, we are not broke, say Labour Party NNPP. Rising wheat, corn prices may worsen food crisis in Nigeria. You would also find I was shot in the head, ex-UI Deputy VC Agbaje tells abduction story. Again, President off to London for medical checkup. Nigeria at risk of importing Ebola virus, NCDC warns. I didn't need to consult Pa Fasoranti before Afenifere endorsed Obi, Adebanjo says. You'll also find U.S. terror alert, needless, no cause for alarm. These are the stories on the front page of the Leadership newspaper.
All right, we'll go for a short breakdown. When we return, the show continues. Don't go anywhere.
This is the road leading up to the Lokoja Bridge from Abuja, and as you can see, tankers carrying fuel, trucks carrying livestock, perishables, and commuters trying to make their way from point A to point B have all been slowed down as a result of the flooding going on in Lokoja.
As I tell you, so my house is inside water like this.
This is my house. This Grizzly is my house.
We have no option than to come here and look for what we chop.
This water have really spoiled many things. Even as I'm talking to you, I'm not in my own house.
I want to encourage them and assure them that their government, their governor, the governor they elected had come to see them. And government officials have been going there to see them. They are not in this alone. We are with them.
But in a situation where you find that a look at the
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
All right, thank you for staying with us. You're watching Daybreak on Trust Television, reaching you right here from the nation's capital. We have in the studio Yusuf Akogo, who will be giving us perspectives on some of the stories on the front pages of our newspapers this morning. Good morning, Yusuf. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, good morning.
Yusuf is one of us, our in-house analyst for today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be here.
Yes. Well, quite a lot of stories on the front pages this morning. Security matters seem to dominate the front page this morning, as we're seeing the federal government's reaction to the UK and the US terror alert, responsible, describing it as irresponsible, you know, and all that. And we are also seeing the police meeting in Imo State, where the president was there, where he addressed them. Specifically, he was emphatic about issue of the police being neutral, even ahead of the 2023 polls. But let's begin with the security alert issue. Do you think that we are overflogging this? I mean, we've seen several reactions. First, it was the Minister of Information, and then we saw the IGP of Police, Inspector General, the DSS refuting it, and now we are seeing the CDS, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. It must be a very strong one for us to be seeing this.
Of course, security is a very serious issue. Before you can even do business or do any other thing, the first thing you need there is security. And I'm happy with what the government and the agencies are actually doing right now, because when that security alert came in, what really it sent down fear down to the spines of many Nigerians, especially the residents of FCT. But from the reaction I've got from the security agencies over the last since that alert was issued, I think there's calm now. There's uneasiness.
Do you truly believe that all the assurances that will make Nigerians to be more confident, especially the residents of the FCT? Because if you drove around at the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, I mean, the town was quiet. Yeah,
the anxiety is there, but again, you have to trust your government. They are the one that provide security for you and all of that. Yes, it's out of fear and anxiety based on what the alerts that we got from US, UK, Australia, and so many other places. But I think we need to believe in our governments. They are doing their best to ensure that we are safe. And if you look at the same time again, the irony of it is that when the US was issuing a security alert here for us in Nigeria, the Speaker Pelosi, the husband, was attacked in America. I mean, how will you justify that? So we need to be calm and then believe in our government, believe in all the assurances that they are giving us, and then I believe everything will be under control, as the NSA said yesterday.
Okay. Why do you think that we are seeing this magnitude of reactions following this US and UK Canada alert? I mean, DSS, as far as I can remember, often release some of these advisories, from time to time, advising Nigerians, travel advisories, advisories for Nigerians to be cautious, generally more like security alert, even though the security chiefs try to make a distinction between travel advisory and security alert, which they say in the case of US and the rest is more of a travel advisory and all that. But the DSS, our own home, or I would say our own local intelligence agency, always release this information, but we do not see this kind of reactions from Nigerians.
Well, before the U.S., when the U.S. security alert came, I think the DSS released a statement that they, were aware of this about a week or so ago, just that they kept it away from the public in order not to, create anxiety and fear. So I think they're on top of their game. It's not something new to me.
Does this have to do with the lack of trust, maybe the trust deficit that you have? That the Nigerians are, showing for their government.
Because I think maybe it's the issue of interagency collaboration. There seems the police, the DSS, the NIA, and so many others, they seem not to be working together, in synergy. So I think that is where the issue is. One want to take the credit on, I think that should not even be the case.
But Yusuf,
the safety of Nigerians,
don't you think that Nigerians are worried because the DSS actually issued an alert to say that before the Kuje prison attack, it happened. There was an alert before the Abuja-Kaduna train attack. There was an alert, but it happened.
Yes.
So is it possible that because in the past the DSS issued the alert and then it happened?
To pass, yes.
Is that why maybe, could that be why Nigerians are more concerned this time?
Yeah, of course, we should be more concerned. Everybody should be more concerned. But with the level of reaction that we've got from the federal government and all the agencies since the alert was issued, I think we have every reason to believe them. We've seen so many, the IGP say there's an increase in patrol by the Nigerian police force. So I think we should believe them. And I don't think this one is going to come to pass.
Well, it's good enough. What does that then say also about Nigeria's collaboration with its partners? Like the foreign minister yesterday said, he hammered quite a lot about the need for synergy and cooperation between Nigerian partners, that all the foreign missions in Nigeria and the federal government and all of that. Is there a loss of confidence on the security structure by these,
international partners?
Yes, foreign missions and all that. Why would they go ahead to just send the, security alerts to their citizens directly?
That is where I'm faulting our international partners. When you get an information like this, I think the next people that you should talk to is to really, liaise with the DSS, the police, and other security agencies. Make the information available to them. Look, this is what we discovered that is, going to happen in your country. Share the information with them and then wait for their reaction, not to send the information directly to the general public.
Is it possible it was done? Because don't forget that these countries shared it with their citizens in Nigeria. So is it possible they had done that and maybe they didn't see any action? Is it possible?
Well, that has not really been proved. Whether it was shared with the DSS or the security agencies, they've not come out to tell us they did it. They did that, but then so you can't really fault anybody. So from what the US have done, we want them to come and defend it. Okay, we share this information with your security agencies, but they didn't react. That's why we made it public.
Even though the US has said that this is a standard requirement, this is a standard practice for them. They do that in every nation. They release travel advisories to their citizens in countries where they are present and all that. I don't know where we will now place this. I guess maybe is the reaction that have trailed is perhaps overreaching. Maybe it's an overreaction from Nigerians, maybe because of the panic that we have seen.
Yeah, we've been fighting insecurity for, a very long time now. And in recent times, it even came close to the FCT. You recall that the Brigade of Guard was attacked. So we saw the reaction after them from the military and the security agencies to push these guys out, and then we've been seeing some, positives, a result from the efforts of our security agencies. So when that kind of alert is coming in, it will be like, okay, what this means is actually to discredit what our security agencies has been doing in the last months or thereabout. So that is why one is so concerned about, okay, whether these people really mean well for Nigeria or not.
And then,
well, a lot of questions really about.
Absolutely.
And then this thing is even coming shortly. The president had promised us that insecurity was going to end in December, and this is coming barely 2 months to that deadline.
Exactly. That begs so many questions. You understand?
Raises a lot of questions about the interests of international partners.
Absolutely.
People we consider as allies you know, in Nigeria, not only in Nigeria, but even across the African continent as to their interests, you know, in Africa and all of that. But what we are after is healthy collaboration and partnership with the Nigeria and others. Now, let's take a look at other stories. Buhari to police, he says, be neutral during 2023 polls. Yesterday, the president gave spoke during the conference of senior police officers in Imo State. He seemed to emphasize a lot about the issue of his legacy of leaving, or I would say handing over a transparent electoral process, a credible electoral process. He seemed to be, because this is not the first time that he is talking about this. And if you listen to the message that he gave yesterday, he repeatedly mentioned the issue of neutrality and the apolitical status that the Nigerian police should have in the coming election, and all the reforms that were, you know, approved or signed by him through the legislations that we have seen, the Electoral Act and the rest of them. The president seemed to be very particular about this.
Yes, he is a beneficiary of a credible election. He came in 2015 when Nigerian votes, in quote, were said to have counted. So he wants to leave that same legacy as he is leaving. He is no longer on the ballots in the next election. So I think the assurance is a welcome development. If you look at all the reforms that have gone on the Electoral Act and so many of them. Apart from the president, the INEC also spoke yesterday at that same event. They also said that they also promised that the 2023 election is going to be credible, and then they will only focus on using beavers, you understand, to ensure that everything is done, properly, and then, you know, to ensure that the candidates, that the preferred candidate by Nigerians, you know, is elected in 2023. So I think the president is, you know, ready to bequeath us that legacy of free, credible, and fair elections in 2023.
All right. I wouldn't let you go without talking about it, seeing that you're also a business reporter. The lead story on the Daily Trust. Naira design, dollar scarcity hits BDC, sells at 818 Naira per dollar. In fact, one newspaper said it has pushed the Naira to the highway. Where are we going from here?
Well, that's increase or a rise in US dollar, I think it's temporary. Because all you are seeing now is that
how temporary? Because it has been on a high for a while now.
Yes, it's because of the demand. Because when the policy was introduced by the CBN, because if you recall what the CBN says, they say 2.73 trillion naira. They've lost track of 2.72 trillion naira of naira in circulation. You understand? Out of 3.2 trillion that were in circulation, they've lost track of 2.73 trillion. You understand? So what this means is that this 2.73 trillion is stashed in people's houses in different places and all of that. It's not in the banking system. So now, when these policies was introduced, ordinarily, naturally, you expect people to say, okay, how do I keep my money safe? Because according to the CBN, by 31st of January, the old Naira note, the 200 Naira, 500 Naira, and 1,000 Naira notes will no longer be a legal tender.
So what the CBN wanted was for these monies to be returned to the bank.
To be returned to the bank.
But now what people are doing is that they're changing it to dollars and still keeping it in their homes, though.
Yes, they're still keeping it in their home because they feel that once they convert it to US dollar, once the new Naira note is released, they can easily go to the bank and then buy it back again and probably keep the same money.
So what does that make of the policy?
In their house. But what the CBN is doing now in collaboration with EFCC is to be monitoring those that actually, you know, bringing this money to the bank. What is the volumes of the money they are bringing into the bank? You understand? So all these things, I think, is being watched by EFCC, because when the policy was introduced, the EFCC chairman, Bawa himself, came out to say, okay, it's a welcome development, that his men will be available to, ensure that, illicit, fund, those that are bringing this money into the bank are actually tracked, and then see how they can actually, investigate reasons behind their actions.
Well, how far would this go in helping to curb the issue of kidnapping and banditry, payment of ransom, and all of that? I recall that some few weeks ago we heard about how almost $1 billion or more of Nigerian naira was paid as ransom to bandits, and all that. So apparently we have a lot of cash in the bush, isn't it?
Well, whether the cash is in the bush is another question that that needs to be answered.
Yeah, I mean, if what the CPN is saying is anything to go by, definitely it's not only going to be in the hands of politicians, but even perhaps in the hands of criminals and all that who are trying to avoid the banking system. Yes. If you say 85% of the cash that we have is not within the control or, you know,
it's not within the system.
Within the system of, you know, central bank and all that.
Well, I think that's why you're seeing the upsurge in the decline rather in the value of naira, because there's the demand for dollar has increased. All the people that have this money in their homes, they are bringing it, whether it's in the bush or whatever it is, they are bringing it out. You know, to convert it to foreign currency.
Part of this story said that some of these people that really have this money in their homes are calling the big people within the Bureau de Change stuff, the big players, and bringing them to their homes to buy it from them in their homes, and the money remains in their homes. So it's not coming out.
The truth is that at the end of the day, this money is going to become useless.
How is it going to become useless?
Yes, because the BDCs operators will also need to sell the money. Let's say you have like 1, 2, 3 billion in your house, and you want a BDC operator to come and buy everything from you, it's not going to be possible. There's a limit to what he can buy.
They can buy.
They can buy. What if they bring like 3 or 4? What if they bring 3 or 4 BDC operators?
Even if you do that, because keeping the money with them too may even become useless in the long run.
Yes.
Do you understand? Because if they buy, they also have to sell. You understand? That's why the president said when he granted an interview to one TV station that at the end of the day, those that will be affected are those that this policy is actually targeted at. That Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians, the civil servants,
a lot of Nigerians need to be convinced about that, because
we'll have no problem with it, because our money is in the banking system. Your money is in the bank.
On the whole of it, this is looking more like a national security policy than an economic policy. Yes. Or both. I don't know, but I mean, looking at the implications that this is likely to have.
I think the president is part of his effort in fighting corruption. He wants to render some money useless to some people. There's those that bury money underground and in so many places.
We hope that some Nigerians will not find a way of circumventing this policy, though.
Well, I think even though I don't think they can actually circumvent it 100%.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much, Yusuf Akogo, in-house analyst. Thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak this morning and giving some perspectives to the stories on the front pages.
Pleasure is mine.
Thank you. All right, we'll take a short breather now, and then when we return on the hour, Daybreak continues. Please stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that look at the
not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that